Hi, LLC. How you doing?
You're a
What's
shenanigan.
going on?
Just starting off with shenanigans.
I mean, that started 30 minutes ago. Not starting off. That was
Today's
30 minutes ago.
episode of Saving Private Ryan.
Saving
Yes,
Private Chew at this point.
yes. Hi, hi, Dan.
Hi, Dan.
Hi,
Hi,
Dan.
Dan.
Hi. Um, that's funny because I guarantee he'll text as soon as he sees that part. Anyhow,
100%.
hi everyone. It's January and we're just rolling. And let's do this. Cowboys new coach. That's
I
funny.
mean, I thought it was. I see. I got the apropos response. There we go.
Oh, we're off to a
I
great
almost
start.
like
We're
I
off
don't
to
have
a
my
great
glasses on, so I
start
was like, is that
already.
what I'm really reading right now? Oh goodness gracious. How are you tonight, sir?
I could work for Jerry. It wouldn't last long, but we would be good for a moment.
Oh goodness. Moving on,
I'm
Governor.
doing really
No,
good. I'm
you took too
excited to
long.
go. Listen, Linda. I'm doing good. I'm excited to get this season started, and I'm have to come through the screen at you.
Governor, how are you doing tonight?
Greetings from beautiful Sedona, Arizona.
Oh wait, you're not
Um,
even in Flagstaff?
no, I'm on Mars right now.
Yeah, I was gonna.
It
Yeah.
is absolutely gorgeous here. Very, very quiet. It's
You can get
super
very cheap meth in Sedona.
Jesus Christ.
What?
okay. All right, all right. That
Just
Isn't
saying.
Sedona like the #2 retirement community or something like that?
yes, yes.
Hence the cheap meth.
And I understand why. Sympathies to you, Chu, having to deal with, your school opening up a week earlier than everybody else. Um, I will be you in about a week, you know.
Yeah.
We gotta let Martin Luther King Day, we gotta let Martin Luther King have his day
Have his day?
before we start school. That's just what it is. So,
Mm.
um,
You're up by Yavapai
yeah.
Junior College. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. So,
It's the only Arizona junior college where they get snow.
okay.
All
Yeah,
right.
so we'll be kicking it off on Friday and we're excited about it.
Did you bring extra oxygen with you?
No, no, no.
Is anybody on your team running anything longer than the 400?
No,
Okay.
not a
Yeah,
chance.
that's just
Okay.
torture.
Because
And
if they were, I was going to have you all arrested.
we're going as far as saying, hey, if you only want to do one event, just do one event,
Yeah.
you
I
know?
remember doing my warm-up laps there, and I went to my coach and I was like, Coach, I don't know if I'll make it down the runway.
Yeah,
And
it's
he just laughed at me and I was like, I'm not kidding. Like I feel like I'm dying right now.
walking into the building and going up and down the steps. I'm like,
Yeah.
The
whew,
worst part about that meet is when the meet's over, when you
whew,
got to go up
okay.
all them stairs to leave.
Yes.
You're 100% sure
Yeah.
you're going to die.
No, and listen, I'll never forget that. Back UCLA, got on the bus. It was sunny.
Yep.
I fell asleep. I woke up. There's snow
There's
everywhere. I
snow.
can't breathe. I'm like, yo, where are we? Because
Yep.
Yeah.
Flagstaff is not a place where you actually think it exists. You say
No.
Arizona, you think, Phoenix and Dust Bowls
Yeah.
and stuff. Flagstaff's very pretty, but it
Yeah.
ain't the Arizona you think it is.
Mm-mm.
Well, what's crazy to me is that, and if you're not paying attention, it was 70 in Phoenix when we landed.
Mm-hmm.
It was 40 when I got to Sedona. The low tomorrow is going to be 10 degrees in Flagstaff.
100%.
And I'm
Nope.
just like, what?
Nope.
Okay, you've been to
Uh-uh.
BYU, right?
I've never been to BYU.
Okay. Well, if
Yeah.
you stand on the track at BYU and then look straight out and up,
Yeah.
at the top of that mountain there is snow in the summertime. right? It's the same general concept. If you're in Phoenix and you're looking up at Flagstaff, like it's the same general
It's the
concept.
same thing.
Phoenix is at sea level and Flagstaff is at 7,000 feet. So, I
7,000
mean,
feet.
it
Yep.
ain't no way. Listen, though I've been to Flagstaff in 3 of the 4 seasons, and the warmest it has ever been, 72 degrees. And that was like in July. If you're a distance runner, it has to be heaven.
Yeah.
It's never too hot, right? I mean, even when it snows, it's all crisp and clean, and
Yeah.
and they adapt to the lack of oxygen relatively rapidly. And then if you live there and train there, every time you go race someplace else, unless you go to Nairobi, you got more oxygen. Like,
Yeah.
imagine going to Mexico City and having more oxygen than where you currently train.
Very true.
Right? It has to be the ultimate cheat code.
All right. Well, Clyde, how are you tonight?
You know, we exposed who did and did not train over the break this past weekend. That was fun. It's always
isn't it the
fun.
beautiful thing?
You know, we had a good time. You know, Reno's dope. We'll get into that later on the show. But yeah, now we got about 13, 14 days left before school starts, and we are going to fix all of that. That I can assure you.
Good times. Good times. So, all right. Well, getting onto this thing that we call a show. We're going to knock these 2 topics out because we know you all know I could care less. But I'm going to do it because we do it. We'll start collegiate, then go professional. CFP, we got the championship game. Notre Dame, Ohio State.
I ain't gonna lie to you. It ain't exactly the way I wanted it, but the CFP year 1 12-team playoff gave me 95% of everything I wanted.
That's what I was going to say.
95%. I couldn't be happier. Texas is out. You know, for my money, it wasn't particularly close, but Texas is gone. We got a Big Ten versus what probably should be the Big Ten matchup, right?
Yep.
I said last week I didn't really care who won between Penn State and Notre Dame because either way we were gonna win. Very happy for Marcus Freeman. That's a great story, and I'm excited to watch the national championship. I will be rooting for Notre Dame. I don't gamble, so I wouldn't gamble on Notre Dame. But I am all in for Marcus Freeman winning the national championship. So, but I won't be mad either way because I got all my gifts on along the route.
Collected all the coins.
I'll keep it brief. Like, look, Marcus Freeman is a great dude, and he's proving to the rest of the world that he's a great coach. I certainly will never root for either of these teams. At this point, I think I'm rooting for Marcus Freeman and against Ohio State because my son has become a ridiculous Ohio State fan, which makes no sense to anyone at all in this house. The boy went to junior college in Arizona. He was committed to Arizona State and then got drafted. So how we got to this Ohio State thing, other than truly being a front runner, which I think is really what it is, which is fine. I can't do that. I can't do the Ohio State thing, but I like the KOP. I think if I was involved in the creation of the CFP, I would be patting myself on the back because the 12-team playoff. I'm going to be honest. They should leave it at 12 because just enough messy that it always will be talked about, right? If you go to 16, it's completely clean, but you're always going to have complaints because you got to win 4 games. And I'm like, yeah, don't do that. Leave it at 12. Leave it a little bit of messy. always have the debate every year whether the bye week is better than, than the home game. It gives you stuff to talk about. At the end of the day, neither one of those rounds, no one really cares. When we get to the Final Four, we get to the Final Four, and we cruise from there. So, as far as I'm concerned, it was exactly what you could hope for, right? The SEC is not in it. No, I'm being serious, right? Look, the SEC not being in it is actually sort of important because it eliminates one of the previous biases and narratives, right? That this is just an ESPN and SEC thing. So when you get to the national championship and you got a blue blood, a really old one that hasn't been relevant but once in the last 20 years, and the other school outside of the SEC that's been in a bunch of these, right? So you got what you could possibly have asked for.
What did we just witness? I mean, I think number one, it was a betting.
Oh.
Can you imagine the insanity that started?
Vegas absolutely loves this.
Absolutely.
Because they made an absolute killing on a prop bet.
Yes.
They made an absolute killing on 89 yards for the best wide receiver in college football, and the man ended up with 3.
Yep.
And they still won.
Yep.
Vegas killed everybody on that because that looked like the easiest bet. That looked like the most slam dunk bet.
Yes.
In Vegas.
Yep. Yep.
And you knew after the first quarter, we got no shot of making this money.
So
I didn't bet on it, but I sure would have.
So let's call it what it is. If we were still at 4, neither Ohio State nor Notre Dame would have been in it at all.
That is correct.
And man,
okay.
Look.
So let's just start there.
You would have had what? Oregon
versus Georgia for the national championship.
Yep.
Just so your 4 would have been Oregon, Georgia, Texas. Who would the 4th even have been?
Yeah, exactly.
Right, there's your giant kerfuffle. Is who would
that would have been the big fallout, right? Because
exactly.
Notre Dame would have been sitting there with 1 loss.
Right.
Blah 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 blah. Ohio State would have been out completely because they lost the game to Michigan.
The Irish were 5 and Ohio State was 6.
That's right.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is so much better.
Yeah.
Wait, so Governor, did you say who you wanted in the end?
So let's just okay. So it would have been Oregon versus Penn State and Georgia versus Texas. That's what it would have been if it was just 4. Right.
Right. The SEC repeat for the 3rd time.
Exactly.
Guaranteeing 1 into the championship.
Yeah.
So I'm in the same boat. I mean, I don't have any doubts that Ohio State wins this game, but it bothers me very deeply that Ohio State is going to win. I am rooting for Notre Dame to win, but that's not going to happen. I
think they have a bigger chance than we think. I do.
Well, Notre Dame defense is really good. It's really good,
and not just college, really good. Like the Notre Dame defense has a bunch of pros on it.
Yes.
And they got a pro level coach coaching them. So, like he's
the problem is the guy can't throw. The quarterback can't throw.
Yeah,
the thing for me is that Texas's backfield, their DBs and their safeties exposed Ohio State to a certain level. Like they had to find other ways to beat them. They had to find other players. And they're stacked so much at the wide receiver and tight end position, and then even the running back out of the backfield. They had to find other ways, and they did. But I don't think Notre Dame has any kind of resistance to those wide receivers, and no. So I see I see more of an up and down type game, more scoring. I just don't think Notre Dame can keep up.
Here's the only reason why I think Notre Dame can win this game.
Okay.
Because Ohio State lost to Michigan.
This is true.
And if I'm going to be completely honest, Notre Dame is a better version of Michigan. They can't throw the football, and they try and suffocate you with good defense. Like
Yeah.
literally, they're just a better version of Michigan. So they definitely can win the game. But let's be honest, if we go backwards, not one of us ever would have thought Ohio State was going to lose to Michigan in that game.
Right. Exactly.
So it's possible. I just wouldn't bet on it.
We wouldn't either. Ever.
That's so bright of you all.
What's next, Drew?
Pro football.
Oh,
Lineup goes
hey.
like this. On Saturday, Texans are playing at the Chiefs, and then the Commanders are playing at the Lions. Let's start there, and then we'll move on to Sunday.
I would just like to point out that Clyde KOP went 5-1 in those games last weekend. 5-1.
okay. Which one did you lose? Which one did you?
Oh, Houston. No one had Houston in the game.
Yeah.
That was ridiculous.
That was weird. That was just weird.
Well, I think that was more of an implosion rather than the Texans actually winning. I think the Texans were the professional team in that game and did what they were supposed to do.
Yeah. Listen, I'm a Justin Herbert fan. You got to call it what it is. He absolutely choked. Like that
absolutely.
that was god awful by Justin Herbert.
Yeah. I mean, and dude, you know what's coming with the Texans front line. You know that's coming. So make some quicker decisions, better decisions, get the ball out of your hand, and let your other players do it. He just held on to the ball and got clobbered over and over and over again.
It was very frustrating to watch.
It's funny that you say that because that sounds like you're talking about Sam Darnold.
Oh, but I told you the Rams were going to beat the Vikings.
Held the ball forever and got clobbered.
Yes,
over
and over again.
But I told you the Rams were going to beat the Vikings.
But here you did. And here's what's so weird about that part. The Vikings lost 4 games this year to 2 teams.
The 2 teams.
Right.
Yeah.
They beat everybody else, but they lost to the Rams twice and the Lions twice. Like, talk about facing your kryptonite.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yep.
So we can start it off with a hot take right now. The Rams are going to beat the Eagles.
Interesting.
Let's hear it.
Go, we're listening. Continue on with your hot cakes.
The Rams are going to beat the Eagles.
Ooh.
That's interesting.
Okay.
So who's going to win the other game?
Well, we haven't gotten to Sunday yet. Hold on.
Yeah, so let's deal with Saturday.
Yeah, let's deal with Saturday.
The Chiefs will not make the same mistake that San Diego did. That LA did. Is it LA?
Yeah.
It's LA.
LA.
It's LA.
Yes.
LA. It will always be San Diego, but it's LA.
Everybody knew what you were talking about.
Yes. I expect the Commanders to push the Lions. I just don't think Jaden Daniel is enough. I think the Lions just have too much firepower on the offensive side. I think Jaden Daniels is going to get his points. I think the Commanders are going to get their points, but I just don't think. Yeah, I think the Lions are just playing at another level, man. It is fun to watch them run up and down the field. They are playing like a well-oiled machine, man. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, I agree. I will say this. I don't know if we said this. I don't know if I said it before, but I have from the day he was drafted, I was not on the Baker Mayfield train.
Mm-hmm.
What he has done in Tampa should be respected.
Absolutely.
Should be applauded. He played extremely well. Jaden Daniels just better.
Yeah.
Like Jaden Daniels won that game, right?
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels is the QB of this class. It was never, and I said I was right on that early too. It was never the boy in Chicago. It was Jaden Daniels.
For the record, you and I were high-fiving on the
Yes.
fact that Caleb was not Caleb.
Yeah.
Right. So, with all that being said, I agree. Jaden Daniels ain't enough to take out Detroit. In
No.
Detroit, like
No.
that's just, it's not a thing. It's not a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a nice run.
Is it just those two games we're talking about?
Yes.
At
Well,
the
we're
moment.
starting with the Saturday games, yes.
I think Philly is going to beat the Rams.
That's Sunday. They just told me I couldn't talk.
What damn games are we talking about?
Chiefs,
The Chiefs,
Texans, Chiefs and
and
Texans,
Lions and the Commanders.
Got
the
it.
Washington
Sorry.
football team.
I think the Chiefs are going to continue to chief.
Yep.
Pat was so stressed he had a baby last week. And like honestly, Washington trying to beat the Lions is like trying to put 3 gallons worth of water in a 2-gallon jug. Like I think they can play a great game and still lose by 14.
Yes.
Because the Lions offense is a friggin' boa constrictor. Like it just like they played a terrible half against the Vikings and then blew them out.
They did.
So it's like that's what I see happening. Like I think that Washington is going to put up a hell of a fight. And I think Jaden Daniels is going to try and carry them like Mike Vick back in the day against friggin' Florida State. But in the end, it's just going to be too much.
Mm-hmm.
So,
right.
on the Chiefs, the divisional round always yields a crazy upset. I'm not going to pick the Chiefs to lose to the Texans because that would be disrespectful. But the Chiefs they've been off for 3 weeks, basically. Mahomes did just have a baby. Travis Kelce is looming retirement by all reports. I told you at the beginning of the year, and the EP told me I was a psycho for saying such a thing. There's like 50 reports about this is probably his last season. They
Really?
feel distracted. They have found ways to keep winning games because they're the ultimate professionals and winners. But man, if DeMeco Ryans can put up a defensive performance and get in there early, I think they have a shot. They played the Texans played the Chiefs to the wire just a couple weeks ago. They match up decently with them, or at least they did. I am rooting for Houston, but I'm not picking them.
I'm rooting for Houston, but I'm not picking them. Okay. I had to let that process for a second.
Yeah, trust me, I'm all in for the Texans beating the Chiefs. I'm here for that. I can't see it.
All right. Chiefs Lions on my part. Moving on to Sunday.
There you go. All right.
Sundays, Rams at the Eagles, Ravens at the Bills.
So I don't even consider this to be a massive upset. I know on paper it would be. In the Rams-Philly game, who has the best quarterback? It's the Rams, and it's not even close. Who has the better coach? It's the Rams, and it's not even close. You got A.J. Brown on the sidelines reading books and being disrespectful in the playoff game a week ago. Love Saquon, happy he got his playoff win. The Rams are champions. There's people on that team that are a part of the Super Bowl run. Like the Rams coming into Philly and beating Philly, I see that one.
I do not see what you see. I just think smoke and mirrors can only last for so long. I know Sean McVay is a genius, and he's he fits in all the gaps, right? He fills in all these. I get it, but they can't run the football. They can't. They can barely keep Stafford upright. He has to make hero plays. I'll wait for you to name somebody on their defensive side of the ball.
Their defense is very young. They've drafted well. They play with a lot of energy. I don't know any of the players.
All right. What about the Ravens Bills?
Well, that's a game everybody been waiting on. Right?
I mean, by standings, it's the closest game.
Oh, sure. And I'll say I consider this game the AFC Championship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would like to ask the panel, because this is one of these very interesting things, right? Who are you rooting for in this game? Not who you think is going to win. Who are you rooting for?
The Ravens.
Yeah,
In this
I'm
game,
probably rooting for the Ravens.
I'm rooting for the Ravens as well.
Care to
What say
elaborate
you?
on why?
Because I want to see Lamar go play Mahomes and lose again.
Jesus. That's almost Clyde level petty.
Oh, goodness.
I mean, I would say my answer is probably not that much different. Like, I am. I think the Chiefs are going to win regardless, but I definitely think easy is the wrong word, but I think the task is simpler playing the Ravens than playing the Bills because
Yes.
Josh is their whole damn offense.
Yes.
Just not sure what that means.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have a reason.
So this might be a little. I get accused of a lot of sinister things in the sports rooting column.
No way. I would have never guessed that.
Right? But it's really misunderstandings on people's parts. I am rooting for Lamar Jackson to win this game. It has nothing to do with the Chiefs. I'm rooting for Lamar Jackson because Lamar Jackson, the 2-time MVP, and could be the 3-time MVP, right? Lamar Jackson can't lose this game. Lamar Jackson at some point needs to step up and be Lamar Jackson in the playoffs. If he's not, they're going to lose this game. So for Lamar Jackson's legacy and all the very unfair, mostly unfair criticism that he has always gotten, I want Lamar Jackson to play extremely well. And I think if he does, the fact that he has Derrick Henry with him will be enough to get by the Bills because it is just on Josh Allen on the other side. However, I don't think they can go into Buffalo and do that.
Mm-mm.
And that would suck for Lamar Jackson. But I'm rooting for Lamar Jackson. And I agree, no matter what the champions, rightfully so, say, they don't want any part of seeing Buffalo.
Mm.
They would much rather see Baltimore. So I'm rooting for Lamar Jackson. I want everybody to hear me. I said I'm rooting for Lamar Jackson and the Ravens to win the game. He better play his ass off, especially if he gets this third MVP.
Yeah, it is kind of unfortunate. Like the narratives sometimes write themselves, right? Like if he doesn't win this game, it's the book gets kind of written.
Yeah, yeah,
He's never had Derrick Henry, right? Like that should be the thing now. I don't know,
All
man.
right. Well,
Oh wait,
as we said,
I wanted to ask new Cowboys coach specifically, but it's for everybody.
do it.
Somebody made a brilliant comparison sometime this week on one of the shows. I forgot who it was. Obviously not stylistically, because they're two completely different players. But to this moment in history, Lamar Jackson is Peyton Manning.
So it's really funny that you said that, because I was immediately thinking if he doesn't win this game, then he's John Elway till the end. See,
Yeah.
people forget John Elway got it. He got to have a gigantic career eraser in the last 2 years of his career.
Yep.
If he doesn't win those, ain't nobody talking about John Elway other than, man, he's Dan Marino.
Mhm.
Right.
Right. So that was that deal. So that was my thought. Like, if Lamar doesn't win this game, he goes into that John Elway. Honestly, he can't even be Peyton Manning because Peyton won one.
Mhm.
Right. We were just disappointed. No. What I'm saying is, like, prior to the end, right? He got
Right.
carried to the last one. The point is, he won one. He's Peyton Manning and Aaron Rodgers are now the same person, right?
Yeah.
You only won one. Your talent says you should have won four.
Mhm.
Well, that's the
Right.
funny thing. That's why I
So we're
thought the comparison was
disappointed
so
in
good.
them. But
That's why I
the
thought the
thing is,
comparison was so good, though.
Lamar doesn't get to be either one of them because he hasn't won one yet.
No, I mean I get that, but like even the one that you're talking about for Peyton Manning is when he beat the Bears.
Yes.
But go look at the playoff run.
Oh,
He
I
was
know. He didn't play
terrible.
well. I know.
And he beat Rex Grossman on a day where his running backs had 250 plus rushing yards. He was bad in that game.
Yeah,
Mhm.
he was.
So,
I think
you know,
I see the Peyton Manning comparison. I would even go I'd go one step further. And honestly, I think if he doesn't win this game or at some point in time win a Super Bowl, he probably is Dan Marino, the most talented guy to never win one. Because that's Dan Marino currently.
yeah.
Because Jim Kelly gets in that weird space, right? He wasn't as talented as Marino, made 4 Super Bowls, lost them all. So that's just a weird thing to be.
Well, foosball is for the devil. Just kidding. So that's from Waterboy.
Oh,
His
I
mom
know where
says.
it's from.
Oh. Oh. Anyways, all right. Well, this is the fun time of football, playoff season and championship season. So we'll see what we have to come back to stay and talk about next week, because just like this last weekend, some teams won and some teams didn't win. Not to be expected. So I am going to let the governor take the lead on this topic because I'm not quite sure how to go in the direction of, but we are going to discuss a little bit of revenue sharing in the NCAA. So just the preface is the NCAA is allowing D1 schools to share a value up to 22 million. Each institution can denote how much of that they will share. But the baller shot callers will be sharing the value all the way up to. So please proceed, because
Well, we're seeing news trickle out of various schools around the country where they're getting ahead of this House versus NCAA settlement. Recently, the most recent one being Colorado, the athletic director sent out a mass email saying that the school has basically decided to drop their NIL collective. And so now everything is going to be contracted and moved in-house. And the question of distribution of money um, at the highest level, football, basketball, and then what trickles down after that is something that athletic directors, you know, the CEO of these administrations and these, you know, these are things that administrations are now preparing for. So from the standpoint of athletics, track and field, the alarm bells and all of that are going off in terms of where track and field stands, but there is something that can be done. There is action that can
Strategy.
be taken. And so I
Yep.
wanted to open the floor to, you know, what it is that, you know, that head track coaches, you know, when they're having conversations with athletic directors, what their stance should be with this new era that we're in.
But
So
before Chu
go ahead.
says something very smart,
Oh,
can I just point out the one thing that no one is talking about, because Colorado went way out of their way to announce this thing, right? And other people that followed suit. Is no one paying attention to the fact that what they actually did was just announce a huge violation? Because
that they were involved.
last I heard, the collectives are private things that are completely unconnected to the
Corporate
school.
entities, yes.
So how can the athletic department decide to disband their collective? How can they tell the collectives, hey, no, we're done with that business, we're moving on? It's like, oh, that sounded really smart, but you all just admitted that this whole thing is a big fraud. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, and so there's part of that too, because I agree, because we are never supposed to, us as staff, as coaches, whatever, we're not supposed to coordinate anything or advise, right?
Right.
All we could do is tell them that it was available to them, and that's as far as we could lead them. And then, I mean, on our campus, we have people who are charged with being associated or liaisons, if you would, to the collective, and that's who took the reins after that. But still very interesting. So what I was going to say is, you know, there are a lot of mouths who have opened up and said NIL is not going anywhere, even though the rules change, it's still going to be a thing, and yada yada yada. Well, sure, it's still going to be a thing, and it's going to be back to, I'm going to promote Accelerator, Bubbler. You know, you have your Nike one still alive. You've got all these Poppy or whatever the local ice cream shop is. That's still going to be there, and that's not going to change because it's still it's now the epitome of what NIL is supposed to be. Quid pro quo. You're going to post us. You're going to get a free meal or maybe $50, and that's what it is. The one thing, like, that was mentioned in our debriefing of what's going on is keeping the collective in play steals from the pot, because that gets put into the value of up to 22, as does your scholarship money, and so on. So freeing up this revenue share by not letting a slice of the pie be held onto by the collective makes sense. Ow. So what you can do as a sport who isn't in the first part of the money grab is make sure that you're a part of the revenue share. You have to be creating revenue. Now, we always talk about we're not a revenue creating sport, but there are ways to create revenue. That's two different things. Like, you have to be able to bring in money, whether it's green money, meaning you're operating in the green, or money that you actually get to keep. That's two different things. Like, you just have to bring money into the institution, or not institution, I'm sorry, the department. So,
Oh, I thought there was more you were going there. Okay.
well, I don't know how much I should divulge, so I'm
Touche.
I'm
No,
taking a breath.
touche. So as a person who currently doesn't have a facility, I will speak in general for people that do.
Mhm.
Your program can bring, if you have a facility and you host competitions, you can generate revenue for your department. If you're good at it, you can generate a lot. There's creative ways to run those numbers up. Obviously, from an indoor perspective, no one does that better than BU in Boston. All right.
Yeah, good God.
Right. I mean, yeah, a couple of years
$1,200.
ago, a couple of years ago when Joe Franklin was still running the show in New Mexico came up with an idea that pissed a lot of people off, to be honest, but it was brilliant
And it made sense.
and it made perfect sense. And now a lot of people are doing it. When you go to an indoor meet, what's the biggest frustration? The meet caps how many humans per
Mhm.
event you can get in. Well, Joe said, why would I do that? You're allowed 3 people into 200. If you want
Or
10, you can have 10. You're just going to
that-
pay a tax for
Right.
everybody you want above the number that you're allowed. $50.
A tariff per se?
Tariff, yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
And and entry fees that used to be, $800 per squad went up to 15, 16, 1700 bucks.
Yep.
I have no idea how much money overall they made, but it had to be a killing because all the meets in New Mexico, there were a ton of people and there were a lot more than 3 entries in all the events.
It
Right.
was a
So
circle. Yep.
so that's a smart way to generate revenue on your campus if you have the ability to host meets and do a good job doing it. So there's always the the game now is if your university is opting in, you want to be on the side of because the university said they're opting in. Now you want to be on the side of the opt-in where it generates some dollars for your program,
Right.
Mhm.
whatever that split is. Now here's the problem with the revenue share issue. I don't care what side of the aisle of this debate you're on. Just understand either way you end up in court. Because if what's being proposed in the current settlement for the House goes through, and I'm not going to get these numbers exactly right, but you'll get the point. Of this 22 million, or let's say a small school X is going to do 3 million revenue share, whatever it is. The current model is the football team's going to get, call it 75% of that dollars. Men's basketball would get the next 10%. Women's basketball would get the next 8 or 9%. And then everybody else gets a cut of that last 5%. Great. If that's true, then by Title IX standards, you are in wild violation. And there's going to be lawsuits over that. On the flip side, if you decide to cut it up with Title IX in place and give a balance to the male and female side of things within your department, well, then the football and the basketball teams are going to be in uproar and sue you too, because they're like, hold on, we're the ones generating all this money.
Mhm.
How you gonna take the money that we literally are bringing in and give it not to us but to others?
Yeah.
Title IX, I have to stop you. You would not be in violation because remember, this is repayment for earnings
No, sir, that's a
lost.
part of it. That's only a part of it. The repayment is only a part of it. Yes,
Okay.
sir. It's only a part of it.
It better be a gigantic part of it.
It's only a part of it. This structure is meant to give real dollars to your current student athletes, not just repay the sins of the past. And
But the loss of the lawsuit was about earnings that were not given that were earned.
you're correct about that. I'm painting the picture of the next step to come. Right? Now, here's what I think, and I've just started to hear smart people talk about this, right? One potential very smart way around all of this, what if the conferences took it on?
Explain.
Made it a mandate, you mean?
No.
No, like meaning the conferences paid Let's just like you have revenue sharing, you'd have like revenue disbursement.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Right.
that's what you mean.
If
Yes.
the conference is the distributor of
Okay.
said revenue, because let's take a step back. Where does I'm just using the SEC because I'm an SEC alumni, right? Where does the revenue from football in the SEC generate? Where does that come from? 90% of it comes from television.
The
Who
TV market, yeah.
holds the TV contracts? The conference does, not the schools. So if the SEC said the conference is going to be the distributor of revenue share to the athletes, the conference doesn't collect federal dollars from the government. There's your work around the Title IX issue
Mm.
and do what the hell they want to do. You see what I'm
But
saying? As long as revenue
so
generation is a school function, there's a lot more messy ties and laws and legal battles there,
Can
right?
I be petty and ask with our new current government, does Title IX still exist?
It does.
Okay. I was just checking.
No. That's a very rational question to ask. And in this example, it may be very well be a thing that they target, just like they're targeting the destruction of DEI, right? But as of right now, that law is very much still a very real thing. And when you look at it logically, the way you go around it is the entity that is paying these players, if it's the campus doing it, then you're subject to all of these things. Colorado may have stepped out and said, we're disbanding our NIL collective. Well, there's a lot of programs going in the opposite. They're tripling and doubling down on their NIL collectives there because they're looking at it like, hey, we're not about to manage this nonsense. We're going to let the collective manage this nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
That's another private entity. You see what I'm saying? That's a private entity that isn't subject to a lot of these laws. So in the money game of college sports, any way that you can get this in a private hand and not a public hand, you got a lot of more freedom to do whatever shenanigans you want to do.
Yeah. So, what's interesting about all of this is that every school, if they follow this distribution program based on the money that these programs, these sports bring in. What's interesting, let's just talk about UConn. 50% is going to go to men's basketball. 18.7% will go to football. And 11.2% are going to go to women's basketball.
Now add all that up and what you got.
And then 3% and 2%, 3% to hockey, 2.9% to baseball.
There you go.
Okay. But that's based on the fact that men's basketball at UConn, they're the breadwinner.
Generates the money.
Okay. So, I hear you in terms of the lawsuits and all that stuff. But if you're towing the line on this is what the sport brings in, so this is what we're going to give out. I mean, it's going to be that's going to be a tough battle, I think. There will be lawsuits. There's no doubt about it.
No doubt.
No doubt about it.
See, what's funny is like I feel like we're in a situation where you could avoid all lawsuits so easily. If it was me, if I was an athletic director, I would just do it just like this. Everybody that I like, we have a collective. The collective now does not have football on the table. It does not have men's basketball on the table. It does not have, in most cases, women's basketball on the table. But now the collective is for every other sport, right? That's what I would use it for. I'm going to pay most of the $22 million to the football and basketball folks and keep them at bay, right? But we're going to do this collective piece to help fund and support and buy better players in my other events. in my other arenas.
Sure.
Because then I think you can actually like spread the wealth and actually have a real impact. Doing this 2% for 1.5% or 0.5% to track or whatever these nonsense numbers ends up being, like it will come out to pennies. If it's me, I've got people on board with the idea of a collective. If I have a really good track program, I'm going to believe that I have collective people that want to support track. I'm going to get them to like, look, you want the track program to get pushed a little bit better? You and your rich buddies that are track alums get together with me. We'll go play golf and we'll talk about how we're going to go buy Chuck Ryan, Kareem Street Thompson, and Marissa Chu. But you can't buy football players no more because we already bought them. That's what I would do.
Again, it's not a bad idea. There's so much flexibility. It's the Wild West, right? There's still not a lot of rules. And the house settlement isn't going to put the genie back in the bottle. So I find it interesting to see a school like Colorado going one direction and then other schools going the completely opposite direction. Right? Like somewhere along the line here, somebody's making promises that they can't keep. I don't know who it is, right? We don't know until all the dust settles, but people are placing their bets, if you will, on them being right on the best way to do this thing. And it's going to blow up in somebody's face.
It's just going to be such a real live struggle for athletic departments to pay $22 million a year. I just don't think people realize that outside of, I'm going to be clear, outside of the top half of the Power Four conferences, that $22 million is a real live ass problem.
Well, but that's also part of the issue, right? Like the conference X is going to settle on, in this conference, if you're coming into revenue share, this conference's revenue share is this. Maybe it's 4 million. That's what you're sharing. Maybe it's 8. Maybe it's 2. But the conference is going to set the table of the revenue share. And then your individual schools have to decide we're in or we're out. And of course,
but all the Power Fours are going to be, what's the number? 22?
Their number is 22. Yeah.
Right. So yeah. I agree with you. Like I hate these
That's
words.
The max number.
Yes.
Yeah.
But all the Power Four conferences are going to do the max number because you're gonna lose kids, right? If the SEC does 22 and the ACC does 20, like you know what I'm saying? Like you're sending the wrong message.
SEC, Big 10, Big 12, ACC is going to do the 22.
Well, what I'm saying to you is, if the SEC does 22, that 22 hits different at Missouri and Ole Miss and Mississippi State than it does at LSU, Arkansas, and Florida.
100%.
And so that's why I'm saying, like, look, the 22 million is going to be a ginormous problem for half of the haves. Yeah. In some ways, if you have a smart person running your conference, being in a conference that says, look, the revenue share for this conference is going to be 3 million, may actually put you in a better spot.
We'll
now,
see.
We got to wait till the dust settles, right, to see how it really goes down. I mean, we all were completely surprised, and I know this. When the numbers come out for like what the track and field numbers could be, we all assumed that like everybody in the SEC was going to do that. We have now found out there's one school in the SEC that's doing full boat.
Yeah.
And I don't see that changing. There are other schools that are close to that, right? Like you're not getting 35, but you can get 30. But there's one school that we know of that is green lit 45 and 35. So I think what all of this is very interesting to me is that for the first time, we will have infighting within the big conferences. Well, I think that is going to happen.
We're all here for that.
I think that is going to happen. I think when the dust all settles, this is going to be like when the Big West teams all dropped football. And everybody thought that the Big West was going to die as a conference because you can't have collegiate athletics without football. And the Big West made themselves into a basketball league. They got their own day on ESPN, and they're doing just fine because they don't have to pay the bills that come with football either.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Need it.
I mean, for the sake of sakes, everyone keeps talking about when the dust settles. The dust is not going to settle. You're going to have to figure out what you're doing, how you're going to get there, and where you're going actually along the way without being settled. So I don't know. That's one thing that everybody keeps saying, and it's not resonating in my ears. It's like screeching in my ears when the dust settles. That's not going to settle.
Well, there'll be a lot of dust settling around April.
See, I don't think so, because people are going to figure out these loopholes like we've talked about, and then,
Well, it's not going to be finished, but
no.
it'll be a lot clearer.
Yes.
There will be a road to navigate around April.
I
Like
don't.
right now, it's all theory. It's just all theory, rumor, and chaos.
So I agree, but come July, when more details come out and then implementation comes, people are going to figure out very quickly how to navigate it, and not navigate it in clarity nor in like calmness, because everybody's going to hoopster is going to get shooken up again.
Yeah. Well, we're all track people here, and no one likes to hear this, but just people. It's not just track programs. Programs are going to get cut. Period.
I personally think there are going to be more baseball programs that get cut than track programs.
Maybe there's more water sports that get cut, but departments are going to shrink their official athletic footprint.
Yeah.
Because mathematically, there's no way around it. You can't do it in your current model, no matter what your current model is.
Listen, I've said this, and you guys have all heard me say this on more than one occasion, and I promise I wouldn't say it publicly, but I'm going to say it now. There are too many athletes in college sports, period. Not just track, period. And at the end of the day, like, the day has finally come where we can't just keep treating collegiate athletics like an all-comers. At some level, at some point, there needs to be hey, it was okay that you were a really good high school athlete. It is not your birthright to continue athletics at the collegiate level. That's just what it is. That's all.
Governor and Clyde, do you off the top of your head know how many student athletes are within your athletic departments?
It's 500-600 maybe. 500?
So we're at 500.
Yeah,
It's
I'd say we're
around
around
that
that as well. Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, it's just we talked about this a few weeks ago. The Mountain West and every conference are going to decide which sports are mandated and which sports aren't. And if your sport doesn't land on the mandated side, aka must be fully funded,
you need to be considering being in another place.
Right, then your situation is very, very under threat. And that's just what it is. And again, it's not just the track thing. Like I said, maybe swimming and diving are the chops. Maybe it's water polo. Maybe it's soccer. But you can't say that the conference is going to fully fund these sports and those sports all got scholarship bumps and opportunity like everybody else. It's just math. So
that's why another thing that head coaches are going to have to wrap their head around is, here's a dollar amount.
Yeah.
Make it work.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Right? And that is a completely different conversation than, here are X amount of scholarships.
That's right.
Right.
Well, and so that needle moves too. Remember that. Because based on the big sports and their success, it steals from the smaller slices of pie. So you can't bake on having that 77,000 stay the whole entire time, or even for past that 1 year. Because if a big sport has success, then the paradigm shifts, and now you don't have that money that you recruited that kid with revenue share. So yeah, that's a lot. It's a lot.
I mean, this goes back to what, 2 weeks ago when I was talking about having general managers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like it is becoming painfully obvious that athletic departments need GMs, and you probably need to have a GM. And most schools are doing this, but you probably need to have a GM in all of the revenue sports, and you need to have probably at least one GM that handles the Olympic sports. Like I think that should become bare minimum.
Well, you should go ahead and write up all of that responsibility list and what the job entails, so people know how to propose it. You go ahead
Okay.
and do that.
Well, when you get hired as a GM of school X, I'll come be your executive assistant.
I will tell you this. Whoever has the job as GM of Olympic sports, you had better be very comfortable with saying the word no.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the adults in the room are going to learn to be more comfortable with understanding the word no.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know I keep coming back to this, but it's like, look, man, whatever percentage of people you have on your roster that are developmental, right? Those are ego boosts. You signed on to bring that person there because you believe you can coach that person up to a scholarship level and beat other scholarship level people. That's what that says by taking on a walk on. Well, now that's just become borderline impossible. So I hate to say it, the walk on now has to be good enough to get money or be gone. It's just that simple. You can't afford to give gear away because it costs money, right? It comes out of your budget. You cannot afford any longer to give gear to people who you are not paying because your ego says you can coach them up to score points. It is no longer going to be a financially fiscal thing to do.
I think I said that NIL is included in your revenue share earlier. That's not right. So sorry,
No.
retract. My bad. That
Tell him,
just
Kai.
replayed in my head.
I said he
So,
tried to tell you.
I've got to get
well,
going.
yes.
I will see you on the other side. Y'all have a good night, all right?
Pack
Bye. Have a good
tissues. You will
weekend.
have nosebleeds tomorrow.
Jeez.
All right.
So
Later.
Excedrin.
I know you dried out already. That's what happens
Oh,
at
dude.
7,000 feet. See,
Dude.
I packed tissues. I wasn't
Yes.
even being funny.
Y'all have a good one.
Good night.
Good night, sir.
All right. Well, but to wrap up, let's segue into some fun stuff because that revenue share is not fun at all. Track is back. We've had now 2 meets officially, the December meet and then the first January meet. And there's definitely things that have happened. We didn't even do the December meet, but the D2 kid that jumped 230.
I was gonna say, I feel like the D2 kids are dominating the world right now.
I mean, listen, it's super early, but it's like preseason football, right? If you love football, you're happy that there's football on the television.
Yeah.
This is, officially the start of the season. Some cool things have happened, right? I mean, if anything was a competition bomb in these opening weekends, the biggest bomb that was dropped last weekend was the University of Illinois just put 6 women into the NCAA championships in the long jump. I've never seen nothing like that in my life. Like, never.
I
Like
mean,
that.
for sure, I would say 5 of them. I think the marks of the top 5 have never not made the meet.
Correct.
So,
it's
to
a
your
wrap.
point, like those 5, it's a wrap. The 6th one is probably in at that mark.
So you're talking about we coming out of Christmas break. Okay, we're coming out of Christmas break. We're gonna have a meet at the crib, and bang, there are 16 spots in the championship, and we done locked up 5 for certain, and most likely 6. Because understand, people, number 6 is 633.
Yeah.
Number
Which
6.
is pretty comfortably, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time
651 is 5th,
633
right?
didn't get in. So, like I said, if there was a bomb dropped, it was that. That was amazing to pull up in stats and be like, yo, what is going on? That was crazy. But congratulations, props to him. Like that, you may not see a crazier result all season.
No.
One thing is for sure, they I believe have wrapped up the group the event title, right?
Oh yeah, no, that's over too. That's done. That's listen.
I think that one's done.
Listen, out here, we we're very fortunate. The San Jose State Spartans have 4 women over 6 meters, which is usually pretty awesome. Yeah, no one's going to talk about that.
Yeah.
No one's talking about that.
Yeah.
We got no shot at number 1 in that.
No shots.
That will be a well-beaten 2nd or 3rd for sure.
Oh, that was actually really funny.
Yeah, early season track is, and I get to be a fan, right? Early season track is very interesting because inevitably somebody does in the first 2 weeks something that they might not reproduce all year.
Yeah.
Inevitably, that happens. And it's always interesting to me because I'm always sort of amazed that they can do that. Like, that's sort of hard to do. Like, to be ready to go that big in the first week of January, to your point about Christmas break. And like, you just came off of training with no meet, right? And then finals and then Christmas break. So whatever that magic sauce is for those individuals, those first week and sometimes second week marks they're mind-boggling to me. The December marks are not that mind-boggling. Everybody trains all hard, uninterrupted all fall, and some people are just dying to get to a meet. I get that. Right?
Yeah.
You haven't had a break in your training. Like the December, like big marks in December make sense to me. Big marks the first week of January, they've always blown my mind because I don't know how you do it. I don't know why you'd want to do it either, but I certainly don't know how you do it.
Listen, certain events, every year. I mean, at this point, we know how good our sport is, right? By the end of all of this, it's already going to be ridiculous across the board. But just some quick ones. There's a 661 in the men's 60 is already number 5.
Already number 5.
That feels wrong since there's only 16 that are going to get in the meet. But
I mean, isn't 16th like 664 or 665 already?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Basically.
like that's. I think for sure we're going sub 660 this year.
And for the nerds that follow us, I said this on my social media. I don't know if I said it on this show yet, but I'm gonna say it now. When it comes to the 2 and the 4, understand there's a new venue in play. Nevada, Reno, Nevada. If teams keep showing up there, are gonna produce some qualifying marks. Miss Foot from San Diego State, who's in our conference, again on what is basically opening weekend, in that building ran 23:29. It was actually faster than that. That's the little converted official mark, right? East Carolina has a 22:99 on the board from the Clemson.
I
22.99, and I was like,
freshman.
this is what we're doing.
So I'm just saying the fact that there are facilities that are new players in what ultimately will be the national championship qualifying picture is always exciting, and I'm happy that one of them so happens to be out west. Big preview. I heard that the Big Ten championships, the new Big Ten, which includes some West Coast folks like USC and Oregon, the Big Ten championship is going to be at the new facility in Indianapolis, which I'm gonna tell all y'all right now is going to be a problem.
Listen,
That's going to be a
I
problem.
told y'all because I was able to coach on the first meet in that building. I am telling y'all, there will be ridiculous marks that happen in the 2 and the 4 and the 4x4 in that meet. Like ridiculous.
So I'm here for it.
That track is built like this. Watch what I tell you.
Yeah. There's a lot of marks, a lot of stuff, but it's early to get super excited about them. So I don't know. It's
Yeah, I mean, listen, we see this play out, right? Like, you know that the 3,000 meter marks for the men that happened on December 7th in Boston, all those are going to be there at the end of the day.
yeah, exactly.
Same,
And they're not
same
going
with
to
the
move far
women,
down.
right?
Yeah.
The top 10 are all from the same competition.
I mean, listen,
5K,
six
right?
guys broke the collegiate record in the 3K in that meet. So, like,
Yeah. So
that is what it is.
The 3K, 5K marks will hold for the most part, but everything else is up for grabs.
Literally.
Yeah. I just can't imagine being a D2 high jumper and then looking at the list. I went to the meet. I opened up big. I jumped like 214, feeling like I got a chance to be a number one in the country. Yeah. Try 230.
Right.
It supersedes the D1 ranks.
Yes, it does. And it
It
will.
might
Centimeters.
supersede all year.
No, I know, but I'm saying it's just crazy. And your normal names are at the top to be expected. But, and again, not everybody's opened up yet. Still got this weekend.
That's this weekend. So
yeah, this
buckle
weekend
up.
is buckle up, Buttercup, because it's going to be a ride.
There are going to be some interesting things to talk about next week.
I'm just going to put this one out there because I said it as soon as we got the accepted entries list. The men's 60 hurdles at Tech this weekend literally highlights at least 5 of the top hurdlers across the nation.
That's definitely the meet I'm going to be watching this weekend.
Oh my gosh. So is everybody else because
I'll be there with my popcorn, Clyde.
20 schools who are present, over 20.
Nice.
Big to small and all over the country. It's going to be fire, literally.
Maybe I'll do something I never do. Maybe I'll live tweet the meet.
Oh geez.
There you go.
Oh geez.
Oh.
All right. Well, good stuff. Good information. Good conversation. Good exchanges. Good enlightening. So have fun this weekend, everyone. Be safe, respectively. Those in California who are affected by the fires, hope everything is as good as it can be on this day, in this minute, and try to get better going forward. The rest of the country is going to get ready for an Arctic snap. So, all is well with the thing that doesn't exist called global warming. So
there is a reason that this year started with WTF.
Sheesh. So, all right, everyone. Have a great week. We'll see you soon. Bye now.